Hey everybody, Jay Super Awesome here. I'd like to welcome you all back to my channel, and I would like to welcome you back to my VHS Horror Movie Collection. And as you can already tell, this is going to be a very different video this time. So this is not going to be one of the normal overview videos. In this video, I'm going to be talking about one movie per video. So I did 20 videos from my VHS Horror Movie Collection. So far I have showed 400 tapes in those videos. So I'm going to be picking out one per video to talk about later on. But before I get into that, I wanted to do a unboxing. I wanted to unbox my brand new VCR. Now this box looks pretty rough and I have no idea how old this is, but I'm pretty excited to have it. Now I'm not going to be unboxing this on camera because just like one of my good buddies from the Undead Nightmare 24 channel, Leon once said, I'm pretty clumsy, so I don't want to show you guys any early gore, so I'm going to unbox this off camera. Okay, so here we have a brand new unboxed VCR. I'm pretty sure that this is a Jay Super Awesome exclusive because I don't really know how many other people who are unboxing VCRs in 2020. But anyway, something I thought was pretty cool is I was looking through the user's guide, and this is actually printed in 1998. So this VCR is at least 20 years old and it's still brand new. And I thought I would show the batteries because they're pretty corroded. So these are definitely not going to do. I'm not sure that will pick up on camera, but anyway, those definitely won't do. So basically what we have here is a 2-deck VCR player. I can make backup copies for the tapes in my collection, so I thought about getting some of the 6-hour tapes and creating my own horror movie marathons. And a buddy of mine gave me a really good idea a while back. He did a podcast for late night television. And of course I'm talking about Rob Gray from the Whacky World Lounge. And he was talking about late night television and pretty much went into a segment about TV hosts pretty much. So it gave me a really good idea. I figured that I could maybe make my own horror movie marathon and maybe create my own segments in between and, you know, kind of be my own late night television host type deal. Just a really cool idea. I don't know that I will ever do it. I have the stuff to do it. I mean, this VCR does everything, so hell, this some bitch might even make cookies. I don't know, we might find out. But anyway, I'll wackiness aside, I just wanted to take the time to thank all my subscribers and all my new subscribers and welcome everybody to my channel. I appreciate everybody who watches and comments, and I just wanted to say thank you to everybody. Okay, so now I guess we're going to go into a little bit of a story time. Now, I don't normally do a lot of these face-to-face videos on my channel, so I wanted to take the time to tell a story about how I was able to get a lot of my tapes in my collection. Well, not maybe a lot of them, but probably my biggest haul that I ever got at one time. So when I was really young, in town we had 2 local video stores, and they were basically mom and pop type stores. One was called Magic Video and the other one was called Kindred's Video. And basically, you know, Kindred's Video was named after the owner's last name. But that is the store that my parents prefer to rent movies from. So I remember staring at the shelves of Kindred's Video store. It feels like hours on end, and probably was. It wouldn't be until later on in my teenage years where I would start renting at Magic Video. And I became pretty good friends with the owner of the store, and she was like this chain smoker like lady, so you'd walk into the store and it smelled like cigarette smoke, but she was super cool, and she would always give me horror movie recommendations and stuff like that. And she had a really cool deal where you could rent a tape for 99 cents and keep it one night. Or, for example, I would rent 7 tapes and at 99 cents a piece, and I would get to keep them for 7 nights. So that was how I was able to discover a lot of new horror movies at that time, and that's how I was able to get to see, you know, basically just to see a lot of new stuff. And she had a great selection as well. But as years would go on by and things started to transfer over to DVD, the Kindred's Video store had actually changed ownership at one point, and they were starting to sell off their VHS tapes. And I had become friends with the owner at this point, and I had actually visited the store one day while they were starting to take down a lot of the tapes. So I approached the owner and asked if I could purchase all the VHS tapes, if he could box them all up and just give me a price basically on the whole lot. And that's pretty much what he did. So in that one sale, I was able to get 120 horror movie VHS tapes, and a lot of these tapes were the same tapes I rented from my childhood, or my parents were renting during my childhood. So I'm really happy to have these tapes in my collection. In that one haul, I was able to get 120 tapes, and at that point I only had 2 of the movies in the entire haul. So it was a total win, and I paid only $150. So I definitely thought it was a total win, and that's how I was able to get a lot of the tapes that I used to rent as a kid, or at least my family used to rent. So anyway, I just wanted to share the story, and now I'm going to move on into the segment where I talk about one per video. Okay, so up first from episode number 1 was Paper House, and this is a really good psychological horror movie. The main character in this movie's story is a young girl who draws a picture of a house, and when she goes to bed at night and begins to dream, she sees the house in her dream. And over the course of the movie, when she adds more and more things to the picture, it shows up in her dream. So her dream is like a escape for her, like a escape to her fantasy world. So it's a really good psychological horror movie that more people need to see. And that one is Paper House from episode number 1. Up next is a slasher movie, and this one is Twisted Nightmare. And basically the only thing I remember about this one from when I was young, I remember my parents renting it one time, and I really liked it, and I didn't see it for many years later on. It's one that I still do enjoy as an adult, but from seeing it that one time, it left a really big impact on me, and Twisted Nightmare is just a slasher movie that I have always enjoyed. Next up is In the Mouth of Madness. Now, I do know that this is more of a modern movie, but the thing that was really interesting about this movie is I actually found out about it from my history teacher at school. I was in the video store one day after school browsing through the tapes, and he was in there and he told me about this movie. And I thought that was really cool, and that's something that I will definitely always remember. And I have always felt like this is a very underrated John Carpenter movie. So that one is In the Mouth of Madness from episode number 3. For episode number 4 is another slasher movie that's a favorite of mine. This is Edge of the Axe. And the thing about Edge of the Axe is I've had this tape for a really long time. I've watched it a lot over the years, and I really wanted a Blu-ray update for this movie, and we finally did get it from Arrow, and that was probably one of my most anticipated Blu-ray releases ever. So this one is Edge of the Axe, a really fun 80s slasher movie. Okay, so next up from episode number 5, we have Creepers with Jennifer Connelly. This is a Dario Argento movie. And for many years of my life, I always knew this movie as Creepers. But when I became an adult and got adapted to the internet age and discovered movies actually had alternate titles, this one also goes by Phenomena. And nowadays I prefer the Phenomena title much more than Creepers. But this is one of my overall favorite 80s films. Slasher film, or whatever you want to call it. This is just definitely one of my favorites from the 80s. Next up is Burial Ground, and this is one of my favorite zombie movies. This definitely has a lot of gnarly stuff going on. We have adult actors playing as children in this movie, biting off the breast of their mother, and all kinds of weird stuff going on. So if you haven't seen Burial Grounds, definitely check this one out. Next up is another zombie movie, Night of the Zombies, and I think this one also goes by Hell of the Living Dead, I believe. But this is another really fun, low-budget zombie movie. And an interesting thing about this one is it actually has some of the same music as Dawn of the Dead. One of the flaws in this one is that it actually has a lot of nature shots, but it's still a really fun zombie movie with some really cool-looking zombies. And we also have a really cool military group of characters that we follow through this movie story. So that is Night of the Zombie. And next up is The Kindred, and this is just a really good creature feature and a perfect example of there's a lot of really great horror films out there that still have not made their way to DVD or Blu-ray. And this one just has a really interesting storyline. You have a scientific experiment gone horribly wrong. You find out this guy has a brother that's actually a monster called Anthony. So I highly recommend The Kindred if you could ever come across this tape, and hopefully one day we get an updated release for this one. Okay, so next up from episode number 9, we have The Evil, and this is one that I don't really hear anybody talking about. I don't know that I've ever heard anybody mention this movie, but this is sort of like a haunted house type movie, and this is one that used to kind of creep me out as a kid. We basically have a group of characters that's going into this old mansion, and they're going to restore it. There's this door in the basement, and the ending of this movie always really, to this day, throws me off, and but overall, this is a really good haunted house ghost story type movie, and it's one I've always enjoyed, and that's The Evil. So in episode number 10, we had The Nest, and this is a really good creature feature, and if bugs get under your skin, then this is definitely the movie for you. And I really enjoy the ending of this one. It was a very creative ending with the monster at the end, and had some really good special effects. So this one is The Nest. Next up is Peter Jackson's Dead Alive, and I can't really say enough good things about this movie. There's very few movies that I actually remember the first time watching. Well, I guess I remember a lot of them, but this one is one definitely that stands out. This is just an absolute gore fest. It has some fantastic special effects. It has some really awesome over-the-top characters, and kicking ass for the Lord is always just feels like the right thing to do, I guess. So this one is Peter Jackson's Dead Alive. And next up we have Lurking Fear, and this is a full moon movie, and this one has a really good cast. It's a H.P. Lovecraft story. It actually has Jeffrey Combs and Ashley Lauren from the Hellraiser films, from the first two. And I think she shows up later on in the Hellraiser movies, but she has a really good part in this movie, and one of the main characters. But overall, this is one I really enjoy from Full Moon, and one that I'm going to be checking out again pretty soon. So this one is Lurking Fear from episode number 12. Okay, so next up we have Castle Freak from episode number 13. And over the last several years, I heard a lot of good things about Castle Freak. A lot of people have started to say good things about it, I guess I should say. For good reason. This movie has a fantastic castle setting with fantastic atmosphere and a really awesome cast with Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton. And of course, you cannot beat Stuart Gordon directing. So, Castle Freak is a definite high recommendation if you have not seen it. And this one is put out by Full Moon as well. Next up is Stephen King's Storm of the Century, and this is a 2-tape set, and this is a series that I always really enjoy, and it basically plays out like a TV series, but maybe it's just a really long movie, but I remember seeing it on TV. But this movie has some fantastic winter setting and like a wintry storm type setting, and It has really good characters, and the whole circumstance by what's going on in this story makes it pretty tragic. So, but it's one that I've always enjoyed. I haven't watched it in a really long time, so this is one that you got to have a lot of time to watch because it's really long. So this is Stephen King's Storm of the Century. Okay, so and up next is Scarecrows from episode number 15, and this is another 80s favorite of mine, and this one's basically set up like a slasher movie, but the really interesting thing about it is what's going on with the Scarecrows in this movie. It has some fantastic special effects with the Scarecrows, and another really interesting thing is the main characters of this movie are actually kind of villain type characters, but they're sort of likable at the same time. But the real big mystery about this one is what's going on with the Scarecrows out in the Scarecrow fields. So that's Scarecrows from episode number 15. Okay, so up next for episode number 16 is Judgment Day, and this one is a pretty rare one. I haven't seen it in a really long time because I've had a hard time tracking it down. I got it at a pretty decent price, and I really like the tagline on the front of this one. It says, "One day a year, all hell breaks loose." And I'm really looking forward to checking this one out again. What's really interesting about this is that I'm really curious to see, with nobody really talking about this one, or most people haven't really heard of it, I'm really curious to see if this one will ever get an updated release. So hopefully somebody does pick it up and eventually we get an updated release. But that is Judgment Day. Okay, so up next for episode number 17, we have Deep Rising, and this is a fantastic creature feature. It's like an aquatic creature feature, and I really enjoy those type of movies, and I still don't feel like we have enough of them. I really like the look of the creature in this movie, and I like how he's disposing of his victims, and I really like the ending of the movie. We have a couple of people who are escaping the ship out in the middle of the ocean and on the jet ski, and as they are approaching an island off in the distance, you hear another monster roaring, and I was really always curious of what the other monster looked like. But anyway, for episode number 17, it was Deep Rising. Okay, so next up from episode number 18, we have another creature feature, and this is Bleeders, and I always really dig this cover art. I thought it was really cool. It's been a long time since I've seen this movie. I do remember enjoying it. It has something to do with incest, from if I remember correctly, and why not to do it, basically. So from episode number 18, this is Bleeders. From episode number 19, another one of my favorite 80s slashers, and this is Humongous. And what's really interesting about this, this cover art always caught my attention in the video store. And this movie was one of those movies that had issues with the transfer. Like, this movie always looked really dark. Of course, it does have a new updated release, and it's a pretty decent release, and I believe it's a Scorpion release. Don't quote me on that. But I do have it. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but yeah, this is one that I've always enjoyed, and I love the cover art on this one. So that is Humongous. And from episode number 20, we have The Mutilator, another one of my favorite 80s slasher movies. And I really like the music in this movie. I like the characters. I like the setting. Just a fantastic slasher movie from the 80s, and this is a iconic cover art as well. By Sword, by Pick, by Axe, bye-bye. And with that, that's going to do it all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment below. Let me know what you think about anything in this video. And as always, I would like to thank you all for watching.